Hey again. This video is part 2 of 3 where I'll be building Moonmouth House from Elder Scrolls Online. I hope you enjoy it. Picking up where I left off in the last video, I'm going to go with the window frames and the window trim. You just cut the frame out of the core foam and little cardboard backing. You paint them up. You got your fancy toothpicks, you just cut them to size, paint them up and assemble it all together. Each window is exactly the same. Just cutting some little diamonds out of the insulation foam to make little decorative pieces for the building. Some go on now and some later once it's finally glued down, won't be moved again. I'm just doing it that way because I don't want pieces to break off while I'm moving it around and working on it. Paint them brown after I cut them out, paint them gold after that, and then once I've done that, I'm going to use the end of a pencil, dip it into some brown acrylic paint, and then just use it like a stamp, just so each round that I put down is exactly the same, nice and even circular shape. Then I get the end of a fancy toothpick, which is a nice small circle, and then just dab it on top and bottom. Makes nice uniform pieces, quick and easy too. I put a gold line through the centre of each piece, and then about 12 of them I cut in half and the rest I leave whole. I'm just cutting out some foam board so I can make the nice ornamental pieces that go along the eaves of the roof. In the end of each one, I just inserted a small piece of a toothpick because it's quite flexible and soft, this foam, and I was worried that it may get bumped and snap. So just a little bit that's it's sticking out of the end of each part of the roof, I've made it a little stronger because you can see how flexible it is. And then it's quite strong after that. That'll keep it from snapping off. Paint them brown. Then a coat of gold after that. And then I did use some soft pencils just to mark some brown lines and give a little more detail. And these little pieces, that's why I use the insulation foam, because it's so sort of squishy and dense, and you can really mould it, give it a better shape, just so it can sit neatly and nicely on the building. Later on I put a little bit of brown paint on these just so they'd be a little dirtier. I did it also around the windows. I used a paper clip to adhere the foam to the roof because it wouldn't damage the foam. That worked really well, just the right amount of pressure. This door trim that I made is incorrect from the video to the actual building. I changed it later because I struggled with the angles and the shape of it. So I just put a basic straight up and down long rectangle on each side of the door, but everything I do is about improvising and, you just wing it. Do whatever works, whatever looks good. Doesn't have to be complicated. Foam core door, easy to mark up and paint. I always put blue or green into white. I never use just straight up white because it's just wrong. Comes up nice. These are the posts that the building's going to sit on with my favourite ink. Just goes on beautifully. Look at that, it's good stuff. Again with the blue in the white. And of course some brown. When I put this on, it looks an awful lot lighter than it actually comes up, but when it dries, it darkens a lot more. I could probably even lighten it up a bit more now, I'd reckon. Even though I'm dry brushing this on, it seems to be like there's a lot more going on than there actually was. Must be just the lighting. I've just marked out where it's exactly going to sit because I know the staircase has to run to the front. So I'm going to place it there, and then I need to mark out where the edges of it's almost like a dish, the shape of this terrain. So I need to mark all around the edges and where I'm going to sculpt down to. It kind of just looks like a big crater on the game, so I think I'm just going to go with that basic kind of crater shape and have some ridges around the outside and then just the dish down through the centre. Cut it out. This was a monumental effort. I couldn't get too much away with the knife, so I had to improvise again. But it worked out pretty good in the end. I learned something new. I was able to grab onto a lump of concrete that I found out the back. Well, I knocked it off with a hammer and used it, but it worked really well. It ripped right into the foam. It was just amazing. It tore it away, left it really nice and rough. It was good. I'll do that again. I've created one hole just so I know as a guide where they'll all sit later on after it's painted. Stand up straight. Boop! You can really see that texture that's been created by just ripping it away with that lump of concrete. It's nice. Just some watered down black acrylic and just give it a really good spray. It'll get into all the little nooks and crannies. And then you'll be ready to film the moon landing. I cut out a piece of paper exactly the size of the base of the building with 4 holes, so I know exactly where to create my post holes. Just drop it on top so I can get a look at it and see how it's going to look later on, and then I can work on the stairs too with the angle. I'm going to just put down a lighter coat for the stone that is around the edges. I'll end up doing a couple of coats of this at least before and after I've put soil on, just depending on how it lightens. This did darken considerably after I put it down. Put down some Mod Podge just so I can get some soil put down, and it was really quite watery. I think watered down PVA glue will work just as well and be quite a bit cheaper. My jar of dirt. Plenty of glue and soil went into that big line down the centre there too, where it's not quite joined. Lucky I got a yard full of this stuff. Once again, I'm using the stair jig that I made out of matchsticks and cardboard just to make the staircase. It's so easy to use. It makes an almost perfect set of stairs. You just get your little coffee stirrers and you slot them in for as long as you want, however long you want the staircase. And then you get your length of your coffee stirrer, and then you just lay it on its side and you push each step into it once it's glued. Works great. I just coat these with the brown ink, and after that I pop some gold on, and I used a brown pencil once again to do some finer detailing up the side of the staircase fancy work. And that's the staircase done, and that's it for part 2. In part 3 I'll be finishing up all the terrain and doing grass and flowers, some plants and a tree as well. And also I'll be doing a separate video where there's a wagon that goes with Moonmouth House on the side of it with some barrels and crates and that sort of thing. And I'll be putting that up before part 3. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, give it a like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.